The house stood at the end of a quiet street, where the world seemed to slow down just enough to breathe. Its pale walls had begun to fade with time, and the wooden gate creaked in a way that used to annoy me as a child. But now, it felt like music from a life I couldn't return to. This wasn't just a house, it was my grandmother's legacy. After she passed away, everything changed in ways I didn't fully understand at first. The day the will was read, I remember sitting stiffly beside my parents, my hands folded in my lap. I wasn't expecting anything, not really, but then the lawyer said it. She has left the property solely to her granddaughter. To me, I had looked at my parents, confused more than surprised. My mother forced a smile, while my father's face tightened for just a second. So quick, I almost missed it. Almost, it makes sense. My mother had said later, her tone light but controlled, "You were always closest to her." I nodded, trusting her, trusting both of them. They told me not to worry about the house for now. "We'll take care of everything," my father assured me. "Taxes, paperwork, maintenance, you just focus on your life." And I did. I threw myself into work, into building something stable for myself. Every now and then, I'd ask about the house. Each time, the answers were the same: too quick, too neat. "It's fine. Nothing to worry about. We've got it handled." I didn't question it. Why would I? They were my parents. Still, there was always a faint uneasiness I couldn't explain. Like something just beneath the surface wasn't quite right. Sometimes, late at night, I'd remember the way my grandmother used to hold my hand and say, "This house will always protect you." Back then, I thought she meant comfort. Now, I wasn't so sure. One afternoon, without planning it, I found myself driving toward the house. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was that quiet, persistent feeling that wouldn't go away. When I reached the gate, my chest tightened. Something was wrong. The garden was gone, completely stripped of the flowers my grandmother had cared for so lovingly. The windows looked different, cleaner, colder. I stepped out of the car slowly, my heartbeat loud in my ears. And then I saw them, strangers, moving inside the house like it belonged to them. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I walked closer, my voice barely steady. "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" A man turned toward me, confused. "We live here. We just bought this place." Bought. The word echoed in my head like a crack in glass. No, that wasn't possible, because this house. I don't remember the drive home. Everything blurred: the road, the traffic, even the sound of my own breathing. That single word kept echoing in my mind. Bought. By the time I reached home, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from something deeper, something sharp and rising. I needed answers, now. My parents were sitting in the living room like any other evening. The television was on, my mother scrolling through her phone, my father half watching the news. It looked so normal, so painfully ordinary. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at them. "How long were you going to lie to me?" I asked. My voice cut through the room. They both looked up, startled. "What are you talking about?" My mother said quickly, her expression shifting into that familiar mask of confusion. "The house." I said, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay calm. "I went there today." Silence. It was brief, but heavy enough to confirm everything. "There are strangers living in it." I continued, "They said they bought it." My father exhaled slowly, leaning back as if this were some minor inconvenience. "We were going to tell you, when," I snapped, "after everything was gone." "It's not like that," my mother said, standing up now, her tone softening. "We did what we thought was best for you." For me, I let out a hollow laugh. "You sold my house." "Our house," my father corrected sharply. The words hit harder than I expected. "No," I said, my voice steadier now. "Grandma left it to me." "And what were you going to do with it?" He shot back. "Let it sit there while you struggled. We used the money wisely." A cold feeling settled in my chest. Where is the money? Neither of them answered. That silence told me more than anything else. "It's gone, isn't it?" I whispered. My mother stepped closer, reaching for my hand. "Listen, things came up. Expenses, investments. We were going to make it grow again. You spent it," I said, pulling my hand away. The truth landed between us, heavy and undeniable. "You had no right," I continued, my voice breaking now. "That house was the only thing she left me, the only piece of her that was still mine. We are your parents." My father raised his voice. "Everything we do is for this family." Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, like trust breaking beyond repair. I looked at them, really looked at them, and for the first time I didn't see safety. I didn't see love. I saw strangers. And as the weight of their betrayal settled into my bones, one thought rose above the pain. This wasn't over. This house was mine. That night, sleep never came. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every word, every lie. My parents' voices echoed in my head, twisting the truth as if it had never belonged to me in the first place. Our house. The words made my chest tighten. No matter how many times I tried to calm myself, something inside me refused to settle. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was a quiet urgency, a feeling that I was missing something important, something my grandmother had left behind. Around midnight, I got up and went to my closet. At the very back, tucked beneath old clothes and forgotten boxes, was a small suitcase. It held everything I couldn't bring myself to throw away after she passed. Letters, photographs, little pieces of a life that once felt safe. I sat on the floor and opened it slowly. One by one, I went through the contents. Her handwriting smiled up at me from old birthday cards. Faded pictures captured moments I wished I could step back into. For a while, the pain softened into something gentler, until I noticed it. An envelope I didn't recognize. It was cream, colored, slightly thicker than the others, and sealed. My name was written across the front in my grandmother's careful, elegant script. My heart started to race. I tore it open. Inside was a document, official, neatly folded, stamped. As I began to read, my breath caught. It was a legal addendum to her will, a clause, clear, precise, unmistakable. The property could not be sold, transferred, or altered without my direct, written consent. Any attempt to do so without my approval would be considered legally invalid. Invalid. I read the line again, slower this time, making sure I hadn't misunderstood. But I hadn't. My hands trembled not from fear, but from realization. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had broken the law. For the first time since everything unraveled, the helplessness I'd been drowning in began to fade. In its place, something stronger emerged, something steady and sharp. Control. My grandmother had known. Somehow, she had seen this coming, and she had made sure I wouldn't be left defenseless. "This house will protect you," she used to say. Now I finally understood. The next morning, I didn't hesitate. I made a call. By afternoon, I was sitting across from a lawyer, the document placed carefully between us. He read it once, then again, his expression shifting from neutral to focused. "Well," he said, looking up at me, "this changes everything." For the first time in days, I allowed myself to breathe. Because now, I wasn't just the one who had been wronged. I was the one holding the truth, and the last paper they never saw coming. Everything moved faster after that. What had once felt like an impossible situation began to shift, piece by piece, as the truth surfaced. My lawyer wasted no time. Notices were sent, documents were reviewed, and within days, the reality my parents had tried to hide came crashing into the open. The sale of the house was invalid. Legally, it had never been theirs to sell. The buyers were furious when they found out. I couldn't blame them. They had been deceived just as much as I had, but unlike me, they had proof now. Clear, undeniable proof that the transaction was built on something false. Forgery, fraud, words that felt too heavy to be connected to my own parents, and yet there they were. When my parents realized what was happening, panic replaced their earlier confidence. The same people who had dismissed me, who had told me I wouldn't understand, suddenly needed me. They came to see me a few days later. My mother looked tired, her eyes red as if she hadn't slept. My father, for the first time, didn't seem in control. "We need to talk," he said. I let them in, but I didn't offer comfort. "Not anymore. We can fix this." My mother began quickly, her voice fragile. "We'll return the money somehow. We'll explain, just don't take this further." I studied her face, searching for something familiar. Something real, but all I saw was fear. "Why?" I asked quietly. She blinked. "What do you mean? Why didn't you trust me?" I said. "Why didn't you even ask?" Neither of them answered, because there was no answer that could undo what they had done. My father sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We made a mistake." No, a mistake was forgetting something. This had been a choice. "I'm not doing this to hurt you," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm doing this because you already hurt me." The words hung in the air, final and unshakable. After that, things followed their course. The legal process wasn't long. The evidence was too clear. The house was returned to me, just as my grandmother had intended. The buyers were compensated through legal channels, and my parents faced the consequences of their actions. It wasn't easy to watch, but it was necessary. The day I stepped back into the house, it felt different, emptier, quieter, but still mine. I walked through each room slowly, letting the silence settle around me, and somehow it didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful, because for the first time I understood something my grandmother had tried to teach me. Strength isn't about holding on to people who break you. It's about standing on your own when they do. As I stood by the window, sunlight spilling across the floor, I realized this was never just about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was always mine, and finally moving forward.